The following is a special presentation of Conifer Radio, our continuing series of Conifer Podcast. Conifer Podcast presents the true life stories of our US 285 corridor and Evergreen residents, the remarkable contributions to our mountain communities, and their encouragement to us all. We continue this week with Miss Kathy McCarty of the Meth, Toxins Awareness Alliance in a Conifer Podcast recording from March 18th of 2021. Conifer Radio offers its support and gratitude to Miss Kathy McCarty of the Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance for her continuing service to our mountain community. Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance, or the MTAA, is a prevention platform where Kathy has turned her personal challenge into a message to assist our mountain communities to navigate property insurance protocols, meth toxins testing, remediation research, the county condemnation processes, and the state health department regulations. We offer our appreciation to Kathy for stepping forward on this very important initiative. Hello, Conifer, Bailey, and our US 285 corridor and Evergreen communities, and welcome to another feature of Conifer Podcast. We are here live and direct in mobile studio with Kathy McCarty of Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance. Kathy is the founder of Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance, an educational organization that exists as a comprehensive resource to protect the health, safety, and finances of people affected by the detection of meth toxins in their homes and properties. Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance collaborates with industry experts, property managers, real estate partners, legal teams, and service providers to provide the resources and roadmaps for the safety of our mountain communities and one of our special mountain area educational organizations. Welcome, Kathy, to Conifer Podcast.
Thank you, Mark. I am so delighted to be here today.
Well, Kathy and I have talked offline here about when Breaking Bad and Aaron Brockovich collide. I think I said that right. Kathy, if you would please introduce and provide some background to our listeners on Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance and the story.
Exactly. Thank you, Mark. I do feel that I've put together some of the pieces where to give people a visual of Breaking Bad collides with my channeling of Aaron Brockovich. So appreciate that visual. And my story basically originally launches a little over 5 years ago when I had a health event that turned out to be quite life-changing. I've been here over 25 years, moved here in 1995 with my family, which continued to grow, raised 3 children here on the foothills in Evergreen itself, a couple different residences. And 5 years ago, I had a health event that actually affected my sight and ultimately my ability to fulfill my role in my career in banking and lending. Subsequently, within that process, I chose to make a couple of important decisions. When you have a life-changing event, there's a lot of medical expenses and income impacts. And all 3 of my children at that time were in some level of college. And this was in 2017. And so I decided to rent out our family home, which was at that time a very modest restored cabin here in Evergreen. And at that time, my youngest son and I did live there, but he went off to college in Montana at Montana State in Bozeman. That being said, I rented out the home. In 2018, I hired a management company. Within 90 days of tenancy of an individual, I received information there was what was to be a minor repair, a water line repair outside the home. Nothing in the home was impacted. And then I found out the next day that there was much more significant impact than I had been originally informed. And this was in the fall of 2018. So I went to the house, and while I was there working with an excavator and plumber, I did wander behind my home, checking out the outside of the property, when I noticed quite a bit of debris and things in the front of the home. And I came across some hardware that I did not recognize and seemed quite disturbing. Ultimately, photographs that I took down to the sheriff's substation led to a search warrant. And ultimately, they found a significant amount of drugs, an arsenal, a small arsenal of guns, which to somebody like me is not a gun person, was highly disturbing, and components, the hardware and the chemicals for making meth. There was a meth lab in my home, and that's what started the next chain of events.
Well, this is a very serious topic that we're talking about today. And to our listeners here, it's the beginning of what truly is an awareness journey that Kathy's going to lead us on. Kathy, your story is a compelling one, because there, but for the grace of the good Lord, could be any one of us. Talk about how this now motivated you to take on the challenge of creating and leading the Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance organization.
Yes, thanks for asking. I basically found that I needed to figure out immediately, based off of what I had experienced in a long career of lending, over 30 years in lending, a lot of real estate transactions, and my banking career. It was a really aha for me. I decided that I personally had to climb 100 huge hurdles in the first 100 days and beyond, navigating so many different components and layers of what I learned when it meant to find out that there was meth toxins in my home. One of the first things I had to do was get my home tested. And where did I go? Where do I go from that? It was literally meth toxins for dummies. And in this process, I immediately thought, wow, if this could happen to me with all the preventions that I thought I put in place, from just my own homeowner's insurance to vetting of even a management company, asking all the right questions, putting all the right protections in place, I learned that it still happened. And hadn't I had that water line break and gone to my home, there may have been a very real a reality that eventually that person would have moved out. And when I would have taken repossession of that home, I would have learned immediately that I couldn't even be in my home longer than a minute without my eyes burning so bad that I couldn't stay in the home. That's part of my health event, is that I have a significant issue with my eyes and my sight. And so I couldn't even stand in my home longer than a minute without significant impact. So I can't sugarcoat this, Mark. But what I can do is state that this was something that I felt a very strong social responsibility to make this known, and not just necessarily navigate and deal with my own issues, but to immediately try to raise my hand and bring this awareness, not only to my community, but to my family and friends and beyond. That's what I decided.
Folks, this is a very serious topic here that Kathy is sharing with us. I want to emphasize the fact that the Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance and its presence in the region not only has been important up to this point in terms of Kathy's hard work, but is going to continue to be so with the continuing presence of the unfortunate circumstance of meth, amphetamines, the meth industry. And so, Kathy, talk about what is coming forward out of not only your work, but also that of the real estate community and everything that's ancillary to the process of owning and living in a home up here.
Yeah, great question, Mark. One of the things that I realized is 2 years ago, literally around this time, I reached out as a community matters forum of bringing this awareness, inviting people to come to a local forum that we had about awareness, not only with realtors and affiliate industries like lenders and whatnot, but also just individuals that live here. And we held 2 forums, and that was very impactful, because then we started to see the ripple effect of what happened to me. More people then started recommending testing in real estate transactions. Of part of the due diligence of any real estate transaction is to do a different type of an inspection. And in many cases, more people were doing meth testing inspections that you could order specifically. And from that, just like anything else, the more you test, the more you're gonna receive positive results. Some of them were very minor, maybe trace results that didn't even need to require additional testing. Others came in hot enough. That's the term in the industry when they come in hot enough where it required additional testing, more so at a higher level of sampling and lab work, and ultimately potentially remediation. The remediation could be minor, and in cases like mine, the recommendations were certainly either very extensive remediation or, to be honest with you, Mark, ultimately it was recommended several times that my home probably could not be remediated because of the materials, the log materials, that it should have been demoed.
When an unsuspecting homeowner is desiring to sell their home, puts it out on the market, establishes a realtor relationship, and starts the process, and now a buyer comes along and puts an offer on the house, and a home inspection as part of that purchase process takes place. What is the worrisome factor about this entire topic during that process?
A person determines that they put an offer on a home, they get under contract, they are allowed to go through their due diligence, which would include areas around inspections, including radon, maybe lead. Asbestos is in a disclosure piece of the contract as well through the process, but meth toxins is not. If you've remediated to a Colorado standard, it's not required to be redisclosed. So if somebody comes in to purchase a home, it's buyer beware. And if that buyer then orders a meth test and it comes back above the Colorado standard, then a seller is required by state statute as well as then the county regs to navigate the protocols associated with meth toxins impacts. It could include the county condemning the home if it exceeds the Colorado standard. There are state health department regulations and rules. There are other pieces, including the fact that that particular homeowner would then, if the home is condemned by the county, they would become houseless and they would need to move out. Their belongings could be contaminated where they would have to deal with that. And it could have many emotional and financial devastating impacts.
Is it safe to comment that if the seller doesn't bring up the issue of any kind of meth toxin concern, then it's squarely on the shoulders of the buyer to then request this test?
Exactly. Many sellers don't even know that meth toxins was an issue. I did not know it was an issue at all. That's why I wanted to bring this awareness through a prevention platform, because many then sellers who sell their home then turn to go buy their next property. And so it's about bringing awareness to all of us. But then also MTAA can be a resource for people who, if they are impacted, may have a concentrated area of different resources, including state and county links, as well as potentially people that serve that industry that could help educate them for next steps immediately.
Live in mobile studio with Kathy McCarty of Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance. And you can reach her at 303-941-0444, or even better, visit their website at www.methtoxinsalliance.com. Kathy, let's continue with your future vision for MTAA, Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance, and what's going to be necessary to help you with your ability to continue to provide this message.
I appreciate you asking that question, Mark. Thank you. There are many visions that I have for this platform. First, one of the top visions is to continue on the awareness and education piece. Last fall, we started online courses, an online class that currently we're still offering it for free at no cost. I've collaborated with experts in the industry of meth testing. We've aligned with DORA, the Department of Regulatory Agency, to offer continuing education credits for those professionals that can benefit that as an added value to take the class and become more educated on meth toxins. If you're a realtor or somebody in property management, to become more aware of it and be able to coach and counsel as trusted advisors in the industries that you serve of real estate and housing at a more optimal level. The other piece is to provide the resources. So I would like to continue to collaborate with more partners and sponsors who can help us branch out and bring this information to help spread the word, to be a resource if people are impacted or just need additional education on next steps or how to prevent pieces of destruction within their own home. I'll give you an example. A renovation company or somebody in roofing might deal with the venting and circulation systems within a home. And certainly when they talk about air and circulation, there's a lot that goes on with any type of environmental impact, any type of toxin. And so that's very beneficial in this, as well as the insurance industry. Reaching out to as many insurance providers, especially property insurance and health insurance, or the health industry and property insurance, because what I learned is as much as I provided so many protections for myself, for my home, and even for the third party piece of management, a property management company, I learned that, well, for one, homeowners insurance doesn't cover this. And if we all look at our personal residential policies, anywhere from 1 to 4 units, if you have criminal activity in your home is void. And the only area that I have found that may change or that may allow for some sort of coverage is under vandalism. So if somebody had a vacant home and somebody broke in and impacted your home with meth, that may be covered. I need help to get this information out. I would love to work with the insurance industry more on the potentially drafting and creating endorsements and potential coverages beyond commercial real estate, because right now residential real estate is 1 to 4 units, and even if you use it for commercial purposes, my understanding is that it won't cover the damages from any illegal activity, as well as the fact that it might be an environmental impact as well. So that is all helpful. The other pillar that I am working on is legislative changes. Once a home is remediated to the Colorado standard, and I'm just speaking for our state alone, it's not currently required to be disclosed in if one were to sell your home in the near or far future. To me, that's very disturbing for many reasons, but one is what I learned about the remediation process is you can reduce it down to the standards that we have in our state, which are some of the better standards, because the tolerance for meth toxins is one of the lowest tolerances nationwide. I've learned that remediation doesn't necessarily mean the meth is gone. Even if a process is gone through where it might be sealed in, it can surface down the road. So even if you learn that you have a home that's been remediated, that doesn't mean when you go to sell it down the road that it's clean of meth and you won't get additional financial impacts. Ultimately, also even worse is the health impacts of meth toxins. And while you have that home and you're in residency, whether it's you and or your family members and your pets, all your family members, you're potentially exposing yourself.
You have a couple of events coming up here, an event on April 6th and one, I believe the same thing on April 20th, about methamphetamine in real estate. And these appear to be Zoom seminars that you're putting on. Is that correct?
That is correct. And if you go to the website, as you previously mentioned, methtoxinsalliance.com, on the event page, one can just link up and register for those free 1-hour classes on getting more informed. They offer CE credits, continuing education credits. It's open to anybody, anywhere, in any city, in any state that you can get a signal. We're limited to 100 at a time, and that's our April calendar. We also host private events for groups as well as organizations, teams in many industries, like I mentioned, insurance, health, attorneys, civil litigators might benefit from learning more about meth toxins, as well as the real estate property management communities, organizations, group organizations, chambers, we're happy to host a private live event as well as you mentioned, our public forums that we have coming up. And we'll add more for May and into the summer too.
Well, let's talk about something fun that you've discovered about living and working up here in the mountains. Maybe just a little bit about what you do for balance.
There's a lot of need for balance. I have found tremendous bravery and resiliency through my family and my close tribe. Being up here for 25 years, blessed raising 3 kids, nature is nurture for me. In the summertime, I've been known to, full moon kayak on the lake. Although we haven't been able to do that as much lately. I do a lot of kayaking in the days that allow for that, and a lot of snowshoeing when there's plenty of snow, which we just had. So those are 2 areas that I'm blessed with. A lot of camping. Years ago, I did a lot of backpacking. It's been a while since I've put a pack on my back, but I do a lot of camping, car camping and tent camping and things like that.
You mentioned earlier about business sponsors being really important to the Alliance. Talk a little bit about maybe how the local area businesses could get behind your effort here.
I would welcome the chance to have a conversation with any business owner, even any individual. I wish with my own situation I could have gotten. I'll just share that in the process of my own situation, I did sell my home, fully disclosed, and I basically lost all my equity. And so I was certainly hoping that I would be able to champion this cause solely and fluently, but I have not been able to. So getting the support of our community to bring this awareness through trusted advisors and professionals that serve a clientele base, to bring this awareness to them will be certainly beneficial, and to add help in underwriting the costs of all these different pillars that I'm focused on with respect to education. Well, first awareness, education, continuing to develop the resources that are available to people once they are impacted, or even before they get impacted, to help them navigate the process to ensure prevention. And then ultimately, through the effective legislative enhancements that I would like to go through for Colorado. And ultimately, there are many states that don't even have legislation around meth toxins. So there is no focus at all. There are no benchmarks for standards and whatnot.
And about Kathy. Kathy, let's talk about what potential interesting fact is there about you that you'd like our mountain communities to know about.
Well, gosh, so many. For one, it's been a lot of years, but I literally solo jumped out of a perfectly good airplane, a good running airplane, skydiving many years ago before it was a tandem thing. But I think one of the funnest facts about me relating to the foothills here is right before we moved into the cabin, my daughter was already off to college, but my boys and I lived behind the high school. And it was a Saturday morning early. I was doing my typical Saturday morning chores, and my youngest son had a couple of friends sleep over from the football team. And so I had 4 boys in the house, and I was in the living room area, and I heard some breathing going on, and I heard some crunching, and I thought, oh, there's that old golden retriever that normally wanders around the neighborhood. I left my door open to air out some cleaning fumes that had gone on when I cleaned up the kitchen, doing all the mopping and things like that. And I came around the corner to shoo the dog out the door, and there was a bear in our kitchen.
So what did you do?
I stopped in my tracks. He continued he was looking the other way, so there wasn't he didn't look up at all. I woke up my oldest son, who was sleeping on the couch in the living room. We hightailed it upstairs into my other son's bedroom, where there were 2 other friends sleeping over, and had to deal with what to do about the bear in the kitchen. And so ultimately the wind blew the door closed, so he couldn't go out where he came in. which was frightening. I had 4 teenage boys at that time. They were all teenagers in my home. The testosterone went through the roof. And we ultimately ended up where the boys climbed outside my son's window, and my eldest son jumped down to the roof of the mudroom, was able to open up the door to the mudroom to let the bear out, and then he jumped into my vehicle and got down really quickly. So it took about 5 minutes, and the bear wandering around the downstairs, banging up little things as he got more and more agitated. But eventually, it took about 5 minutes, but he walked out the door.
Jeez.
I know.
That is a great story.
We never got a picture of him. The first thing my son said when I woke him up and we were running upstairs is, "Where's my camera?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no." We never got a picture of the bear. We only got a picture of the poop that he crapped and left in our kitchen floor, because he got so nervous and agitated when the door slammed closed on him from the wind. But ultimately, there's a group of Evergreen Cougar football team boys that will continue to talk about this story for many, many years to come.
Excellent story. Well, as we close our discussion today, what encouragement do you have for our mountain community and for the future of Evergreen, Conifer, Bailey, and our US 285 corridor? And frankly, what should people do right now regarding your very important topic?
Well, I really appreciate you asking that question. I think it's a question that needs to be. I think it's a topic that really does need to be taken seriously. Once it happened to me, and I did my Google searches, I learned that it is meth toxins is an epidemic topic globally. It's not just here it's not in inner cities where crime level is high and incomes are low. There are no geographical boundaries associated with the impacts of meth toxins, socioeconomic either. The experts will share with you that it will affect the inner communities, but it also will affect multi-million-dollar homes down in Castle Rock, all the way up to our high mountain countries and everywhere in between. There are no geographical boundaries. That being said, to learn about meth toxins, you're welcome to come and sit in on one of the classes and hear from the experts who are trained in this. And I've learned from one of them that approximately 85 to 90% of all the home properties that they test, and this could be commercial, it could be a rental property, or it could be a primary residence of sort, 85 to 90% have some level of trace meth in them. And out of those, anywhere from about 25 to 30% require additional testing and some level of remediation. Now, the remediation could just be ductwork cleaning, or it could be something extremely more extensive than that. But it's to become aware of it, to take it seriously, because you cannot smell it, you cannot see it, you can't tell if a home is impacted. And if you are looking, or somebody within your circle, family or friends are looking, is to share this information with them so they can prevent this impact from happening to them, to ultimately buy a home and either learn that it had high enough levels where they couldn't even live in the home anymore, or when they went to go sell it, that they found out that home was somehow impacted with meth toxins, and then they were stuck with that particular hot potato.
Very sobering presentation.
It is a little bit, but on a very positive note, I am resilient in my thought of hope that this sobering conversation will turn into an aha of awareness, where more and more people will take action and spend the little bit of extra money that it costs to ensure that prevention happens to them. And that's the excitement that I have, and the motivation that I have, is that I hear more and more stories of, I heard about your situation, or I sat in on your class that I learned about, and a client of ours made an offer on a home. We did have it tested for meth toxins, and thank you so much. It we moved on to other properties, and it turned out that they ended up, finding something that was even better for them and or different, but they knew about meth toxins and they weren't impacted by that piece of it. And so that's the positive that is coming out of all this is the awareness.
I also want to give a shout out to Michelle Robbins of RPM Agency, who brought Kathy and the MTAA to Conifer Podcast today. And on behalf of Conifer Radio and the US 285 corridor, our neighbors in Evergreen and up and down the canyon, we want to recognize Kathy McCarty today of the Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance for your continuing advocacy to protect the health, safety, and finances of people affected by the detection of meth toxins in their homes and properties, and for the topic overall in terms of the health of our community. So Kathy, as we wish you the best in your continuing service and advocacy to the community, once again, how can our listeners best get in touch with you?
There's a few ways they can get in touch with me, certainly by contacting me through the website, mettoxinsalliance.com. I also have a Facebook page, Meth Toxins Awareness Alliance, if you're on that channel. I have a LinkedIn profile under my name, and just call me, 303-941-0444, or if you just want to email me, Kathy, Kathi, at mettoxinsalliance.com. I'd love to hear from you, have a conversation, and see where this can go.
Thank you, Kathy. We look forward to talking to you again sometime in the future on Conifer Radio.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate being here today.